we'll talk more about that later, but certainly the way in which COVID has turned the world upside down has done nothing to dampen Salesforce's prospects. I'm looking at the commentary today, Jim. Monster beat as Jefferies. Morgan Stanley removes much of the prior caution. Citi likely taking hardware share from Cisco. It's an amazing print.
Look, sometimes you look at a print and say, when did you expect to get that one? When did you expect to see that quarter? And it would have been sometime maybe near the end of last year. They're doing, they got 20 billion rev. The thing that I find that is most exciting about this is what we're seeing is companies saying, listen, I got to digitize. You look at Nordstrom, they didn't digitize correctly. But anybody who digitized correctly, Dick's, which we're going to talk about this morning, they've got the world's their oyster. And most companies, they're not technology companies. So you bring in Salesforce, they tell you how to do it. David, you know that Mark Benioff has a vision, which I think you share, about how to change the world.
Yes, so many things that Benioff and I share, other than friendship, which we do not share. But no fault of mine. No fault of mine. I mean, I've never actually had a guy on set, when I've asked him a question, just completely ignore it the way that Mark managed to do that time.
Well, he told me he loved you. I got that clarified. But what Mark has done is made it so that whether it's AT&T, whether it's the veterans, whether it be Under Armour, whether it be VF Corp with Vans, they figure out a strategy to be able to lift sales. So, and it's done by knowing your customer, by really being the true arbiter of the customer, and it works. And I think a lot of people think it's smoke and mirrors until they actually bring it in and they get a gigantic lift on their e-commerce. And we know that this quarter of retail, it's been all about e-commerce. If you had it, you're good. If you didn't, bye-bye.
Yeah, and we're going to get to some of the e-commerce numbers out of Dick's and others today, Jim. Wow. You did talk to Benioff last night. He talked to you about the growth rate, but also talked about some of the challenging times that we're in. Let's take a listen.
This has been such a challenging time for so many of us. And, we realized with 54,000 employees working at home, with a raging pandemic, with this economic crisis, social justice crisis, with this environmental crisis, we had two changes. We could stay and do what we were doing, or we could change. We could evolve. We could shift, and we did.
Well, look,
Jim, wasn't long ago we were questioning the strategy of letting some customers go without paying some of their subscription fees. Now all the commentary revolves around how you raise margins even amid explosive growth.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was the theme. See, last quarter was a disappointment. And why was it? Well, when Mark came on, he said, you know what, we had to let people have it for free for a while. We were not going to try to squeeze our clients and prospective clients. Well, you know what? It worked. They had a run of new clients, the likes of which I've not seen. This was the best quarter, I believe, as a public company. And a lot of it is just companies and states. How about University of Kentucky? University of Kentucky figured out its online strategy with Mark. When you bring in an outfit like AT&T, and David, I know you can speak to this, I don't think AT&T was necessarily known as like a customer-centric company. And what Mark Benioff talked about, it was number one, he wanted to talk about it first, was the number of people who are feeling basically good about AT&T and their cable service because of this identification issue that Mark gives you. Know your customer. And, David, I think a lot of companies that don't know their customer have no choice but to turn to Salesforce because they don't even know how to do it.